Hey, peace, fight fans. Thanks for pressing play on another Bite Down Boxing video. Please consider becoming a subscriber. If you dig anything I'm talking about, please hit the like button. It's very important. Um, Pretty decent boxing weekend. I didn't get to check it all out. I kind of got into it and was just kind of resigned to the fact that I wasn't jumping through any hoops to go out of my way for whatever, for whatever. So I basically just got it. I did watch the Danny Garcia and Adrian Granados fight, and wanted to come back and drop some thoughts on that 48 hours later. This going into this fight, I had the opportunity to interview and talk with Adrian Granados. Actually had him on my podcast on a phone call once, and then met him when he was nearby in Cincinnati for the Broner fight, a year and a half ago or whatever it was, 2 years ago now. Whatever it was. But so I was kind of rooting for him, to have a good showing. But I was having a hard time exactly taking him in that fight. It was almost like the mid-major in basketball. We just got past March Madness, a pretty dope March Madness. But it was almost like a proven mid-major like Wichita State, who had a great run for maybe 4 or 5 seasons. Xavier is another one here in Cincinnati. Very strong basketball program, smaller school. But you didn't know with this particular shot right here, you just didn't know if he would show up and compete well, or if he would show up and the bright lights would be a little too much. And it's almost like it was the latter. And it's kind of sad because I thought he could have had a much better showing. I thought Danny Garcia fights at a speed that would allowed him to have a better showing, but it just never materialized for him. I thought he was winning the first round, kind of staying outside a little bit, getting in the mid-range a little bit, was a little more busier than Danny, but then Danny Garcia was able to land some bigger punches in the closing moments of the first round, and he might have taken that one. Moving into the second round, Granados with some decent shots early on, but then obviously there was the 2 knockdowns. The first one coming by the counter left hand a counter left from Garcia, and then a right hook. And this is obviously the punching power was the difference, but just the craftiness that Danny had to deliver. The timing that he was using on this right hook for that second knockdown to get the little separation with the shoulder before he landed the right hook. Everything that Swift was going with Saturday was working. And then it just was like Granados being a little too, just not being as active as he has been, and really not getting inside. It was like he was in the middle he got caught in the middle of the street and got ran over. He shouldn't have been outside as much, shouldn't have been mid-range as much. He really should have been working his way inside, and he didn't do that. And before he could really get into that, the punishment, the power, Danny's power was just taking a toll on him. Moving into the third round, I'm looking at my notes. Garcia was patient, unloading once inside. Granados was looking for some work inside, but he, by the end of the round, he had a bloody nose. Another slick move that Danny Garcia started to do a lot through the last couple of rounds was touching him with the jab. Whether it was along with his left jab, patting him along the waistline and bringing his hands down, and then just opening up everything upstairs to land some heavy right hand shots. That was another, crafty move that was working really well for him repeatedly. In the fifth round, another knockdown for Danny Garcia with Granados on the ropes. I really didn't think he was going to make it out of that round right there, but he showed his toughness. 6th round was kind of a down round in activity for both fighters. And then round 7 at 133, of course, referee Thomas Taylor had to step in after seeing enough, you know, in another in that same, I think it was along those same ropes as the knockdown in round 5. So, you know, with Garcia moving forward, you know, Granados was tailor-made for him, you know, to look that good. But I don't want to take it all away from Danny. I mean, he was hungry. I think some of the talk leading up to the fight, you know, it was a blue blood, you know, it was a blue blood program that was looking at a mid-major, and we're gonna do what, you know, we're gonna do what we do here. Just got a text message for something, and so yeah, he just ran the guy over. Like I said, he was in the middle of the street. Just some quick and then, you know, the other takeaway here, you know, Garcia's power, his craftiness, and then the third takeaway here was last year we would have never heard, you know, one of the older school, more established welterweights, we would have never heard one of them call out Errol Spence Jr. But now, after a successful, you know, attendance at Jerry's World pay-per-view, decent pay-per-view numbers, obviously holding a belt, obviously being, you know, maybe even the Garcia going 12 rounds with the guy coming up from lightweight or super lightweight. We actually heard Danny Garcia call out or mention half-heartedly, kind of tag Errol Spence Jr.'s name in there at the end of his names that who he wanted to see. But good outing for him. Really quickly before I get on off here, just a quick morning wood. Pay-per-view. Not really the greatest run for pay-per-view in terms of us sticking around with that model. The Pac Broner being the first one, Pac-Man and Broner, Spence and Garcia, now Crawford and Khan. Like I said, I haven't seen it, but the way that it ended, you know, I don't think the fights were, the undercard fights were as great as some of us had hoped. Good showing, good win for Shakur Stevenson, though, of course. And then obviously Teofimo Lopez keeps his thing, you know, keeps things on schedule for his takeover. But, you know, from what I've read with the finale or the ending of the conclusion to the main event, you know, Hunter, not gonna go into much on him as his status as a trainer, but he runs an interesting corner depending on who he's working with and where that fighter is in their journey. You know, I believe he was in the corner for Darrell in the rematch for Uzcategui. Some confusion there, and then here with the chance to continue after taking a 5-minute break or part of the 5-minute break. Virgil calls this fight basically, and you know, people had to feel robbed, you know, to pay as much money as they did for their seats and those in attendance, and then those of us who would have paid $70 or who did pay $70, you know, to support the pay-per-view. That's a horrible ending. And this Friday and Saturday, you know, with the activity that's going to be out there on the DAZN platform, you know, for the $10, and probably going to see an excellent fight in this Sor Rungvisai and Estrada 2. Let's see what's going on with pay-per-view. I'm not gonna get into Bob's comments right now. I'm gonna keep this one under 10 minutes. Have a great week and enjoy this fight week. Like I said, great action coming up this Friday and Saturday. I'm out. Peace.